Or the No Doubt song, I would love to wash in your old bathwater. But she does say old bathwater, so.
Those are lyrics to a No Doubt song?
It's the title.
What?
I would love to wash in your old bathwater. Love to think that you're good enough lover. I can't help it. You're my type of man. Keep talking, honeys. Yeah, the good old boys are back with a regular episode. No costumes, no fancy backgrounds, no letters from the listeners. Just a good old classic episode.
Yeah, and this one's just so we had. Here's some episodes that we have coming up. We're always brainstorming various themes and planning, but we have conspicuous consumption coming up, the evolution of why we advertise and how evolution goes into some of our more showy spending behaviors.
We're 99% showy.
99% showy. That's a good.
1% function. All the rest is show. Hair, diamond necklace, vehicles, clothing, facial structure.
99% showy. That's a solid. That could be a t-shirt.
Even more showy. That bumps us up to 99%. 99.5%.
Yeah, we got a music episode coming and we're going to where we're also going to be plugging one of the bands at the Campout. People really liked the Dark Triad episodes, so I think we might do some Light Triad episodes.
Oh, people will hate that one then. That'll be a good mix-up.
Yeah. And I was planning something. I've been driving for days. This is my first time recording mobily. I'm not where I normally am. I brought everything with me when we first put this show together. I wanted to make it so that I could potentially do it on the road without anyone ever knowing. Then, of course, I blab about it anyway. But with it looking all of the same, this is my first time doing that experiment. I have like a
You even
monitor.
have the same cup, I think.
This is a different cup.
Okay, well, you brought the slide whistle and the bell, though.
This is Soup's cup.
Metroid? What is that?
Transformer Optimus
Transformers. Prime. I sound like a dad now. What franchise is that? Incorrect franchise? No, Dad, it's correct franchise. Oh, sorry. I thought it was X-Wings. Is that X-Men or X-Wing? What space trek y'all watching? It's all the same to me because it ain't real life. It's toys that children play with. Now, Saving Private Ryan, that was real. But Transformtrons, y'all got to start looking for jobs. That is slightly southern, doesn't care about fictional universes. Faja, my newest character. The #1 hit record character coming this fall on the BBC Becca. More of this on the podcast and at the Campout coming September 9th through the 12th. Only on ABC.
You have a Fasha character. It's so good.
Oh yeah, everybody's got to have a Fasha character. What was your Fasha like? Was he too supportive or just supportive enough?
Is that a Russell Brand talking about his
No, this is what they're not telling you tonight. Joe Biden wants to take your guns and make your kids confused. And no one's talking about it except here on Luminary.
Holy smokes.
I actually would love to go check back in, because every time I check back in on Russell Brand, it became even more and more of that. Like it became from like the American flag in the far background to being like very close to like wearing camo to like the eyes going bigger and the more clickbaity title. So it's got to be like just awesome now.
Those thumbnails, all of his thumbnails are bananas.
Yeah, everything's on fire and like, it's the end times and I have the answers. Mate, I don't have the answers. That's what I'm trying to say. I have the questions. Why are you not asking these questions? I don't know. Maybe if I was hiring some other personality traits, I would ask the questions, but I'm fine with the Chinese Communist Party just doing whatever. Just do it. Just do it. Who cares? What am I, some kind of guy? I'm not some kind of guy, and I'm not gonna do those stuff. I'll do this. I'll tape this. I'll do the Campout. I'll perform at the Campout. I'll tour. I'll talk and stuff, and I'll write stuff and draw stuff, but I'm not gonna do stuff.
Whatever mix of caffeine and other things that you had before this, it's perfect. Write it down.
The perfect balance.
This is the latest one we've ever done. Maybe that's what it is.
Oh, yeah. I am way better at late nights. I don't turn on until like late at night, you know?
Oh,
like 2 p.m. That's
recordings. Oh, tell me what you need. Oh, man. All right. That's, late night recordings. We're gonna
late nights are where it's at.
Yeah. I'm into late nights. Okay. This is exciting. What a revelation. Okay. So I'm traveling because I'm actually in Raleigh, North Carolina right now, where we're having the Mind Under Matter Campout Festival. And I came because there was a larger festival happening the weekend that I just saw. And then
potentially,
there's a really small one coming up. Oh. No, I was just
I thought you meant larger than ours. I'm like, whoa, you don't know that.
Well, so when we announced our campout, I hadn't been there, and we were capping tickets at 222, and then so that I can actually go and assess the property, because we're judging by pictures, and I wanted to get a feel for what it would actually be like. And I'll tell you, so I went to this Shred Fest, this one wheel festival. You know the one wheelers, the huge one wheel skateboard thing?
Yeah.
So that's what it was. I guess it's a booming community, or enthusiastic community, I should say. I don't know how booming it actually is, but they're really enthusiastic. And they got together. They started last year was their first one, and then this year they doubled the size, and they capped it at 500 because it's like everything gets, you got to like buy different insurance and things like that, and things just change.
Over 500 becomes much more expensive.
Yeah, there's just different things at different scales, which is what we're trying to figure out. And I also was like, well, I don't know, is this going to be, because looking from pictures, I was like, okay, Soup tells me you could fit hundreds of people by the stage there, but it kind of looks intimate. And is that the only thing? Like, you know, I'm particular about kind of getting things right. And I'll tell you that 500 people camping out felt intimate and casual, and like,
how many humans did you meet?
Plenty of space. How many humans? A fair amount of humans. Yeah, I was.
No, how many did you meet?
Like, go up and was like,
yeah, like, hi, I'm Shane. I like basketball.
Yeah, I didn't get there for the first day. I just got there yesterday. Because I got delayed with some other stuff. Stopped through Asheville, talked with some artists for our camp out and everything else. And yeah, I met a bunch of people. Probably the best was So one of the things that we've had is ever since we announced, we've had a lot of people saying, well, I don't know if that's my thing to go solo. I don't know if I'll be awkward or whatever else. And I thought, actually, the bigger it is, the easier all of that is, because there's just more groups of things. And then it can be like, if it's just 1,000 people and you're by yourself, then you're just like spectating or whatever else. And then you find a little thing and go like, oh, here's a thing that interests me. And then
if it's if it's 3 people and you're the only person that's not in that other, couple. Yeah. It's like, what's that? Is that guy here to serve us? Why is there a third guy?
Exactly. So if like everyone has to do everything together, I think that would make it less comfortable. So after going last night and checking it out, I think that we got to go for it and go big, because it's not only am I not worried about 500 people not like being too tight or anything like that. I think you could easily have 1,000 people in the space. Actually, I think you could have way more than that. And so like the one main field where there's camping, it was like half full with 500 people. And so there's like, if you go on the Lakeside Retreats site, you'll see the little stage area, and that's called like the main stage, and it's on the lake and everything, and it's really cool looking and big and everything. But it looks kind of small around the space, but that's actually perfect, because the other stage is just a huge open field, like endless. So that's like better for music and stuff. The main stage actually forces people to pack in for like the podcast and stand up and everything. It forces people like a little more, conducive to comedy. And then there's vendors set up all along. So we'll be able to have an art gallery and stuff like that with our local artists. And it's, and then I was going all around today, and it's so big. There's so many, there's one huge area with camping, but then you can just camp in little spots around the lake. And I saw people would just like stick a tent in the middle of the woods, like away from everybody else and stuff. And you can have privacy, or you can be with the group, and you can set things up, and we can have little camps and things like that. And it's amazing. We'll try to put some, maybe I'll make a YouTube video. I shot a bunch of video and stuff today.
Yeah, throw it up. We're vloggers now.
Yeah, we're vloggers.
We're already on YouTube. Like, see, look, hey, unless you're watching it on Spotify, well, still, hey, look, Spotify is surrounding me. It's all the content everywhere. But in YouTube, yeah, all we have to do is talk about what we're up to, and then we're also vloggers.
A professional vlogger.
Yeah,
that's
you're
amazing.
like, hey, I took a walk around the campsite today, and it looked really cool, and there's this lake and this stage. Now you're already a vlogger. You did it.
Great vlogging.
You just took 10 years off of your life. You're 10 years younger, in other words, by vlogging.
Vlogging's going to be an old person thing in no time, don't you think?
It kind of already is, because YouTube is a millennial thing. TikTok is more Gen Z. I mean, there's both on both, but like if you were to give like who does this belong to? Like, okay, yeah, millennials own YouTube and Gen Z owns TikTok.
Yeah, you always seem to know like what age groups are with what technology. You keep tabs on things a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think it's my own way of processing aging and just noticing stuff. Like you notice that you're the hip like person on all the stuff until one day you're like, well, I'm not on all that latest stuff. Oh, it's because I'm older. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm not ready or my attention has already been just battered so hard over the last decade and just worn away, and my focus is just so nothing now. And so when I notice new things that are, that's going to attack my focus even more.
Do you think that like kids growing up with all of this stuff, it's just, it won't negatively impact their focus at all. And it's just because we grew up without this, and now it's like, here's all. It's like when it's like when you take some like island that's never had fast food or anything like that, and then you just give them fast food, and in like 10 years everyone's morbidly obese because like they didn't have any time to adjust or whatever, or they didn't grow up with it, and then just like
or like when you quit heroin and then you take your old dose, if you've quit heroin for a year and then you decide to do it again and you use the same dose that you used a year ago, and your tolerance like had time to go down, then a lot of people die from that. So it's kind of like that too.
It's good to carefully think through your heroin dosage for sure.
Yeah, if you're going to relapse, start small.
It's very practical.
Oh, but I'm
advice.
reading this. Have you heard this hit best-selling book called Stolen Focus, about how your attention is being actively stolen over the last 10 years, and so many people are beating themselves up about it, and it's not just a personal responsibility thing. Like all these big tech companies have tried for years, and just marketing in general, and to the point where the guy that wrote that willpower book, I don't know if it's, I forget the name of the guy, like some famous author guy that wrote the willpower book, he was talking to the guy that wrote the focus book about like, I just haven't been able to focus on anything recently. The guy that invented the marshmallow test and wrote about the marshmallow test is like, I've just noticed my focus has been gone, and I thought it was about aging, but I think it's these fucking the new technology that we're all sucked into. Yeah.
I just heard that about the person that wrote the book Adulting and came up with the term adulting.
Oh, I thought that was just some 25-year-old that's a comic or something.
It was like a 25-year-old that was like young, and here's how to like do your taxes and get rent things and like do these various enter the corporate world and all of these like
the vegetables of activities
things. And I guess like she got interviewed recently, and her life's just a mess. It's not going well. Wrote the book on adulting, and it's just not going well.
But to your point of like, do you think that it's affecting us more because we didn't grow up with it? In that book, the guy references his son who's 15 or 16 and, won't stop looking at his phone. And then his dad takes him on a trip somewhere. And then the one deal is that you can't look at your phone the whole time. And we're going to go visit Graceland because you're such an Elvis fan or whatever. And even he kept breaking his promise and looking at his phone, and then they get in a fight, and later he goes up to the son and he's just like, I know that something's wrong, but I don't know how to fix it. So even like the, teenager addicted to the phone, like, fuck you, boomer, like even that kid is like eventually like, I recognize I have a problem here.
Yeah.
What was that even a tangent from? See, I don't even remember how we tangented into the...
It doesn't matter. Attention, something about focus. I don't remember either.
Yes.
I've done I've done so few road trips. I forget how much I like driving. I drove from Wisconsin to Cincinnati, and then I drove from and I did it straight. I took a modafinil. Like that's my emergency kit. Like, it's a boring person's
Modafinil?
Adderall. I think it's modafinil.
Oh, yeah. Modafinil.
Yeah.
Modafinils.
That's what it's called.
Modafinil.
I think you said modafinils the first time I mentioned it too. We had this conversation once. So I have an emergency kit. I got a prescription for this stuff like 5 years ago, and I still have it around because I don't like it. But it will keep you
Prescriptions
up.
last 5 years?
It still works.
Hell yeah. But it like expired 6 months, even if you're terminal AIDS. I thought they've always clamped down on things, but maybe not.
I imagine it's like, it's different for everybody, but it's like Ritalin or Adderall without the euphoria. and you're just awake, but you don't feel rested, or you still feel tired, but you won't sleep.
Just the worst of both worlds. No euphoria, no lack of tired feeling. Why didn't they put that euphoria back in it?
I don't know. Isn't that the weirdest thing? They I think we've maybe talked about this on the show. If not, you know that the FDA asked MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelic Studies, when they were first doing the MDMA trials, they were having all these amazing results for PTSD, and they were like, they're looking at the case reports and people's anecdotes about their experience and everything, and they were like, is there any way that you can keep all the PTSD fixing stuff, but make it so it doesn't make people feel good? Can you take the part out that makes people feel good?
Now, is that because like sinister, things where they want to sell you happiness, or is it because they think that if it's acting on the, doing the opioid dopamine hacking thing, they don't want that?
I get basically anything in life that makes me feel good. I'm like, I don't know about that. I don't know if I can trust this thing. So I think it was that sort of, I don't think it was a nefarious, plotty sort of thing. I think it was just kind of ignorance and silly. But yeah, there's, and I think this modafinil affects everyone differently, but my goodness, it'll make a 10-hour drive go right by without having to take a nap or anything like I normally do. But then you pay for it later. You usually get, I got a headache or whatever else.
Where are you right now?
Sleep schedule's all fucked up. That was like a couple days ago, and now my sleep schedule's like all weird ever since. But I was running behind, all this stuff happened. I needed to get it. That's what the emergency kit's for. It was when I had to like drive 8 hours for a gig to get to a show. It's like, all right, I guess I got to do this drug. And then the worst thing is you take one and it goes well, and then you're like, okay, this thing works. And then you have a half, 6 hours later, it's wearing off a little bit. I'll have a half of one just to like keep me awake and going. And then that's when you just start tweaking. Now your jaw's clenching and stuff. And it's
Now, do you think it's because you timed them too soon together? Like if you had just held out another hour and then taken the half, you would have been good?
I don't know. I don't have much experience with this stuff. Like I said, I got one prescription 5 years ago, and I still have it. And it was like a prescription for like 15 of the things or something like that. I take them like once or twice a year.
The payback, or not payback, but yeah, the whatever payment you have to give afterwards sucks, but it is fun to have that excuse. Be like, well, I gotta take it, otherwise I'll get in an accident or I won't make it to the thing. And then it's like, this is the part of the movie where I get to alter my consciousness. Yes.
Well, that's actually that's the big thing with methamphetamine, is that a lot of people are it's a whole mess. I had a guy on Here We Are a while back that wrote a book about kind of its impact in rural communities, and it's this perfect storm of all this stuff where basically it's a lot of like rural areas where people are working in factories, and then that factory work is going away because it's, being outsourced somewhere or whatever else, or just times change, new technologies, automation, whatever. And then so they're being asked to do more. They're not getting paid as much. And I guess meth is like fairly cheap. So if you can have like a little meth, and that'll like put a little pep in your step and get you through that monotonous factory job. Not only does that 8 hours go right by, but you can get another 4 hours of overtime in, and it zips right by, and you're helping your family. You're like putting more bread on the table. And then eventually other people in the factory who, factory workers, not always the most informed on like every new thing. That's the other thing is like small towns tend to think that drugs are a big city problem. So those people have that mentality like, oh, we don't do like crack and stuff like that here. That's what big city people do. And so then when some guy's able to work overtime all the time, they're like, hey, Rick, what's your secret? And Rick's like, oh, I used a little bit of this meth stuff. And then Rick then becomes that person's hookup, and then just gets into the meth trade because now that's more profitable than the factory stuff was. And then also in these rural communities, there's I guess there's some sort of agricultural fertilizer or something that is a good ingredient for making meth that would normally be flagged, but you can kind of get it if you're in that kind of region. And then also there's like a lot of tree cover, those areas that have like the moonshine things and stuff. It's because there's just like so much area that it's hard to bust. It's hard to like use helicopters and stuff like that. And so it's just this perfect storm of all these things. And then people are like, why is our community falling? Because they're not used to these like small rural towns, aren't used to the same like drug addiction issues that
they're
big
blindsided.
Cities will have. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw Dopesick, but Dopesick is the exact same story of that with the Oxycontin instead.
I did see it. It's fantastic.
I think we've talked about it actually. Now I remember. It's all coming back. Maybe
Michael
it was off
Keaton
mic,
was very
but
good. Yeah, I think it was off mic.
It's tough because I think we're maybe 50-50 at this point. It's tough to say whether we're more off mic talking or we're more on mic talking.
Oh, on mic talking. Lately, it's been more off mic planning and stuff with the Campout festival stuff going on. So yeah, I guess so anyway, I got to go to this one wheeler thing yesterday and talk with people. Here's a solo thing I went up and talked with a bunch of different people, but at night, so you can pretty much like make a fire like
anywhere you want on people's stuff, on their tent.
Yeah, I'm always cautious about saying this because I say something and then Soup listens and is like, actually, could you tweak that information?
Yeah, it's like bring your meth, make fires anywhere, come alone, don't bring any ID, don't let anyone take your photo, don't give out your real name.
And yeah, so some people just set some stones up that he had to make like a little impromptu fire pit, and I was just shocked that more people didn't have campfires going, because I love a campfire. It's one of my favorite things in the world. It's amazing. And so there was just like these two guys by a campfire, and I'm going around checking everything out. And so I just sat and I talked to them for a little bit, and I was asking them a couple questions about things. Like, I was like, how much does the generator noise bother you? Because the RVs and the camping is all together, and for our thing, I want to stick RVs with generators
in the lake,
away from all of away from the tents, so they'll have to like walk further or whatever. But I was like, how much do the generators bother? And guys are like, oh, hardly even notice. It's like, it's a community here, and it doesn't bother us at all. And I'm like, okay, say you were putting on an event here, and you could just move all the RVs with generators somewhere else away from the tents, would you? And they're like, oh, absolutely.
Oh, so you got the political answer versus the real answer.
Yeah.
I love all the things. What if you had control? Well, I would do it my way, of course. The better way. Of course.
The better way is a very good slogan.
I get it. I'm political too. If it's recorded in text somewhere, like I won't be crazy. One time, it's too long to get into, but someone asked me a question and it was on Instagram and I wrote them back and they're like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting that Today Show type of answer. And that's like, yeah, because it's written. And all the nuance goes away, so you can't have in writing something that could be interpreted as anything less than perfect.
Yeah.
I love all. Speak to me in real life for the true answer. I love some.
So once I started talking with these couple guys, then a couple more people came over, and then a couple more people came over. It was just everyone just needed oh, what's going on over here? Are people gathering around a campfire over here?
I guess if others are doing it, I guess. Do you remember that old, I've done this 18 times now, that old Louis C.K. joke of going to pick up the cookies, and he says you always do that move where it's oh, cookies? I could not, but I guess I'll take it. Yeah, I'll do it. I mean, sure. Yeah, we're so cool like that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's uncool. I think it's people feeling awkward about just going up and meeting people until it's oh, there's a gathering happening, so I can gather as well. And then it was just this lovely time, and there was, you want to hear the best solo move? This guy came up. He has this huge, I don't know, it was almost an oversized briefcase or something. And he opens it up and he pulls out all of these metal sandwich maker things that you can, s'mores, you can press the sandwich in it and then you put it over presses that you put over a fire. Duh. And he's just hey, who wants sandwiches? And everyone was all of us want sandwiches. And then he just sat around and made everyone sandwiches.
He made them too?
In his press
That's
thing.
actually, I like that role. I think, I haven't been to a large gathering in a while, but several of the last ones, I remember if there was an opportunity to man the grill instead of doing other stuff, it's more fun to just make stuff.
Yeah.
Than stand there and talk about the latest thing that you're supposed to like or not like.
So that's how this was kind of late at night. They were off. They were doing a lot of people were they'd built there's so much property. So they have a 1/4 mile one wheel track that they let them build just for their annual fest thing. And so a lot of people were off doing that. But there was a lot of one person brought a projector and was just playing a movie the whole time, and there was just tons of space to Lego Batman.
I haven't seen that, but I trust the Lego franchise.
I haven't seen any of the Lego movies. Everyone says they're terrific.
They're great.
Yeah. And so it was everyone was kind of able to choose their own adventure and everything else. And so anyhow, I saw this. I talked with some of the vendors to see how many people that they expect to before they'll come, because vendors for food vendors or whatever need X number of people to be there to make it worth their while, and everyone has different things. It's a whole thing. So I think that we should try to go for bigger. I think that we will still raise the ticket price after 2/22. We'll sort all this out. So there's only going to be that number of tickets for that price. But I think that we have to try to go bigger. So then, because it's just perfect. And then all around the lake, there's all of these areas that anyone can go to. So the stage can be happening, the main stage can be happening with a bunch of stuff, and then there's a whole other second huge stage that we can have all of this other, not the stage itself isn't big, but it's just this huge field with the stage in front of it.
That's fun. Tiny stage in a big field.
Yeah. Tiny stage in a big field.
That's like very, yeah, have we talked about how like the original public speaking is just you defending why you shouldn't be kicked out of the tribe or something? Maybe that's not the only version of it, but it's at least one version where you had to like publicly speak because everyone's like facing you. And it's like, well, explain yourself. Why did you steal the berries or something? I was like, yeah, it wasn't me. Come on, let me stay in the tribe. And then the little stage kind of feels more like that than it's seeing Kiss or something.
Yeah. I mean, we also kind of get to build what we want, and it just depends on, because everything gets easier when there's more people. Like, for example, I stopped through Asheville and I was talking with some cool artists around there, and I Annie Kayla B, check her out. She did head talks when we did it, my psychedelic science and comedy show that I toured with Sophia, that we're going to be doing the final version of it at the fest. But Annie brought her, when we were in Asheville, she brought a bunch of her stuff. So anyway, I was talking with her and talking with some other professional people and what would be involved to like give these really amazing artists like the best possible scenario. And because of like potential weather and wind and this and that,
Art Destruction Festival, it's rains all over everyone's paintings.
Well, it did. It rained not when I was there, but the day before it rained, and it just wasn't that big a deal. But yeah,
it's just art. Yeah, it just all melts away.
Well, there's areas that people can store things and everything else, but that's the decision. Like, do we get a big professional tent so there's a whole art area and curated? And to be able to make that make sense in the budget, we need to have like 500 people or more. So it's still a thing that we can scale, we can keep it small, and we can keep it intimate. But now that I've been there and I've seen the space myself, I'm like, oh, this was no bullshit. This is absolutely
so we're
amazing.
Not afraid of overflow, which that wasn't our main concern anyway, but it is a thing on our minds.
Yeah, and so now the biggest concern that I have is like, I don't know. Underflow. I don't know how many people, like at the time that we're recording this, it's May 15th. Ramin has some stuff he's traveling off to do, and so we won't be able to record. So, at the time that this is released, I don't know how many tickets there. But we released tickets less than a week ago, and we've sold 50 so far. And I have no idea.
Oh, it was 52.
If that's good. There's more. Yeah, there's over 50. We've sold over 50. I haven't checked in on it today. It could be 70.
We still have plenty of Wayne stock tickets left. Approximately 10,000 Wayne stock tickets.
Well, I also didn't want to. At first, I was like, is this just for like the hardcore mummies that are on Patreon and stuff? Is that the vibe that we want to curate? And so many people have talked about bringing their friends, and I wanted to see what the second stage. I thought when he told me that there was a second stage, like he's like, oh, a second smaller stage. I didn't realize that the second smaller stage you can fit like 1,000 people in front of, and the main stage is actually more intimate. And so that being said, it makes it so that we can easily make it so that we can have like a mum village that's like more insidery and like more us, and then we can also just have more kind of general like cool art, music, things like that are accessible and you don't need to like have listened to every single episode of Mind Under Matter.
Yeah, just half of one. Half of the worst one. So you know how bad it could get.
So that's and we haven't had a chance to talk about this until now on this recording, but
talk about what?
All these decisions.
Oh yeah, that's true. I never thought that we were really going to cap it. But I knew it was possible because neither of us had actually been set foot on it. Rather, we'd seen pictures, talked to the guy, VR transported in, but now you've set foot there, so you have a good idea of it.
Well, you never know. I had a good feeling, but you never know until you're there. And also doing live comedy is different than live music. And the other thing was the main stage where the music was and everything. Like hardly anyone even collected around the stage, you know, to like be like watching the band. It was
that's
more
beautiful.
just it was more just like the background thing going on and people just having conversations and stuff like that. So
there should be background comedy, and that does happen a lot, but it's seen as a failure. And there should be a specific background comedy where it's like rude to look directly at the stage. Like you should just be engaged in small talk with your little group of friends and like one other person there. Like, what's your name again? Brent? Oh, okay, good. Nice. Sorry, I'm bad with names. And then you do that, but then the comedian is still doing the set just as you would normally. And in between like a particularly good joke, maybe you'll stop and clap, but never look directly at the stage.
It's weird when you go from performing in a comedy club where if anyone is like having a side conversation or something like that, it's like, why aren't you listening to every single word that I've prepared this. It's precisely timed. It requires all of your concentration. And then you go to, like, I've done various festivals and stuff that are looser, and you have to like not care about that as much, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that's what's cool about doing some live podcasts is that you can kind of like podcasting, you're kind of tuning in and out anyway.
Yeah, the bar is low
and everything.
The bar
else.
is at the ground, but not in the dirt, but touching the dirt.
But I have things that I can't wait to tell you off air that are like, I have a hard time keeping secrets, but there's just amazing opportunities and things.
Dolphins,
and the shows are going to be, I already have absolutely ridiculous things planned for us, and
nice.
People are going to love it.
Dolphins.
It's a dream. It's an absolute dream scenario. The lake was like bathwater today when I was in it.
Wait, before it's used?
So nice. Before
Isn't that just water? I thought it's bathwater when it's like, I would, when they say like, oh, I'd drink their bathwater or something. Maybe I only heard one person say that. I thought it was a weird compliment.
No. You heard someone. Wait. What are you talking about now?
This guy back in Brazos, I don't know why people would know the high school name. I was about to say Brazoswood, as if people would know what I'm talking about. I'm like, back in high school. Yeah. is the word, but was talking to someone like, oh yeah, she's hot as hell. I'd drink her bathwater. And I always remembered, I'm like, that's such a strange compliment. And I just imagine him drinking this, because it's not dirty, but it's not clean either. Who knows what's in there? Makeup, little dingleberries, or whatever else goes in.
I think that was maybe one person trying to be original or something like that.
Could
I'm
be.
not
I
sure
should look it up on Urban
saying.
Dictionary. Or the No Doubt song, I would love to wash in your old bathwater, but she does say old bathwater, so maybe bathwater is
Those
fresh.
Are lyrics to a No Doubt song?
It's the title.
What?
I would love to wash in your old bathwater. Love to think that you're good enough a lover. I can't help it. You're my type of man.
This is a real
It's
song.
very vaudeville-y kind of sounding. Got the horn arrangement in the background.
You're so good at
Return of
improvising
Saturn.
that I can't tell if you're making this
It's
up
real.
or
You can
not.
Google "No Doubt Bathwater." It'll pop right up with a video and
I don't
say
have
it's
my
from.
computer.
Oh,
to look
right. You're in
things up.
camping. But I swear it's real. The listeners know. The listeners know the song.
That's one of those. It reminds me. I might have talked about this on the show before, but it bears repeating anyhow. I was in Jamaica doing a mushroom retreat one time.
Myco meditations, baby.
Myco meditations, and I did this. There was this older guy that came and thought everything was like bullshit, and at first on his first trip, and then it was like a trip every other day for 8 days or something. So there's 4 trips or something.
What do you
like
mean
that.
he thought everything was bullshit? Like the retreat was bullshit, or he takes the psychedelic and then realizes that, corporations are bullshit, man.
Thanks for the clarification, because I can see that being taken that way. No, he was just he tripped, and he bonded with me because he liked that I was into science. He thought everything was too like woo woo there and everything.
Oh, so another you.
Yeah, and he thought that he thought like it was a waste of time for him to be there, and then he was like complaining about politics and stuff while tripping. I'm like, why are you talking about?
See, what the Democrats need to do is, instead of targeting the people that they're not voting for them, is target the people that are voting for them harder.
And then his second trip, he was like, I see it. I see it. And then he was like going to invest in Myco meditation. He was such an odd, interesting guy. He owned these hotels or a resort or something in South America. And then the next time I went back there, he was there again. And
how old is this fellow again?
Probably like 65 or something like that. And he had a strange sense of humor. He is a peculiar guy and like intelligent and interesting, but like he was just a character. He was just a character. But because he was like investing in the company, they would let him do whatever he wanted. And so he did 22 grams of mushrooms on one of the trips. 22.
That's almost 5 times the Terrence McKenna dose.
Yeah.
5 grams in silent darkness, and then you're gonna take 22.
and afterwards we were hanging out, and I was like, what was it like? And he was like, oh, it was just a lot of, they just told me, it was a lot of why do I do this, why do I do that, and then they would like give me the answers or whatever. So why this, why that, why do I sniff bicycle seats? And then he just goes, all right, got it, cured.
Doesn't sound like he wanted to be cured. But the tone's just otherwise. Maybe it was becoming a problem. When you're no longer discerning the type of seat you're sniffing, it's probably time to ask them why. Why this? Why that?
We all do.
That is the perfect response to that guy.
Yeah. And so anyway, that bathwater thing reminded me of that. Bathwater temperature, when referred to swimming, is like that perfect temperature that you would set before getting into a bath.
You meant it temperature wise, not cleanliness time. I don't know why my head was there first. You should think of the temperature first. The lake water is not going to be no doubt water or...
The lake is like bath water, and by that I mean you can drink it. It's a lot of people's filth is in it, and you can drink it. That's what I mean by bathwater temperature. Yeah, we planned the time that we picked is like it's the exact right temperature of like hot during the day, hot enough to swim, cool enough at night so it's still comfortable. And it was pretty warm, I have to say. It was near 80, and in the sun it was pretty warm. And there's just shade everywhere. There's just like endless hiking trails and stuff. This space is so amazing. This is like a fucking dream come true. I can't believe we have this opportunity. And now we need to figure out how the fuck to get people there. And it will be awesome. And I don't exactly know how to do that because we're a small podcast.
Small local farm. Locally owned. What's the other word? It's gone. Whatever. Small local farm podcast.
Yeah. And
it's bigger than these YouTube numbers, by the way. Don't listen to those.
YouTube
most of the people are the audios.
Other thing. Yeah. That's that sucks. I started YouTube and during the pandemic I added video to Here We Are, and then it just made Here We Are seem like a failure of a podcast because the YouTube channel was brand new and I never figured out how to like do whatever this and that clickbait thing to do the like fucking
we made the biggest piece of pizza and covered it in gasoline and set it on fire.
I never figured that out, and so it's like now it just makes the podcast look unsuccessful because I had all these I still do, but it's if YouTube is the only numbers that the public can see. And so it's like just in terms of like getting guests and everything else, I have to be like, well, no, here's like I can show you the listenership and stuff. Here's how many listeners that we have. I have to like explain our low YouTube numbers.
I think there was a company that already tried to do this, or maybe still is doing it. It's not big enough because I don't hear about it anymore, but there's a thing, Clout, where it would calculate your Clout score based on all your social medias. And I don't want it to be hierarchical like that, but it would be cool if you could look at anyone and see like, well, they've got this much on Spotify and then this much just audio downloads from the website, but then their YouTube is little and their TikTok is microscopic and their Instagram's pretty good and their Twitter is like to medium, small, and so on. And you get to see the whole big number. One of the good things about a monopoly, but then it's also bad because same reason why one thing is always bad.
Yeah.
It's too jailed off.
Yeah. So, I mean, the only source of anxiety because there's nothing but opportunity. I've produced a ton of shows, like on my own, and I've been to a bunch of like Campout things. I've had lots of gatherings with people. The guy whose property it is does stuff like this. He does live music for a living, Soup at Lakeside Retreats. And so everything, we're just like going around the property and like pointing out the things that we want to build. And I just want to bring all these ideas to life. And everything about doing them is not that difficult. And I have like the details pretty well figured out, other than like, we don't know how many people will be there because we just released tickets in the first week and we don't know if like 50 is good, if it's bad. It's certainly, if there
thought 50 is good for just launching.
For just launching, it seems like for an event that's 4 months away, it seems like everyone buys last minute. But also if people just wait till last minute, then we can't I can't quick get the big tent and get all of the professional, like amazing artists to come in. It's like, well, too late. Everyone's already booked.
Which would you rather have? Which is the worst of these three, you think? 10,000 people buy tickets at the last second, or 10,000 people buy it now, but then it gets canceled for COVID like the day before. There's like a super COVID and it cancels everything. Or
Well,
or no
first
one
of
ever
all,
buys it.
if there was like some war or some like weird, we obviously live in a world where life is very unexpected. I don't think an outdoor event's going to be canceled because of COVID. No way, not at this point. You know, and even like a hurricane would, like, it's so far inland, like anything like that. But yeah, we would just move it and redo it next May.
But which is worse though? Not like likely. Which one would you rather have? Like the people showed up, but it was canceled, or people buy it at the last second.
Yeah, people buying it at the last second and that's have
worse
a
than
horrific thing happen. Yeah, I'd rather not have a nuclear apocalypse happen or whatever, like, insane thing in the world would happen.
It should be cut off then tickets should be cut off after a point in which there's no way you would be able to set it up in time.
Yeah, if you can't it will need to be that. And it'll need to be, because it was like I literally in my mind, you know, we were hashing this out on Discord of like, what do we really want this to be? Do we want this to be like a really intimate camp out where everyone gets a chance to, like, you know, meet us and hang out a little bit? And as I was going around yesterday, I was like, I can meet 500 people in a weekend. No problem. We do that, like, meet 200 people after a show, you know, like, hey, how are you? Like, oh, it's like way too easy. Every concern that I had before going to Lakeside Retreat went away. Everything in terms of, like, I was nervous about security and what if things go wrong and everything else. I like met the security person. I have zero anxieties about anything other than I want attendance and to happen early so that we can make something spectacular. And, like, quite frankly, it's like this is I'm used to always being anxious about, like, how many butts can you fit in a room and like, that's just, we're the small business. We aren't the. And then my brain spirals of like I'm already like failing in my mind and then angry about it. Of like I went on a Brian Callen kick in my head today about how he was like selling out clubs, and like during the worst of COVID pandemic.
He was? I thought he had I thought he was canceled and gone forever.
He was in the midst of rape charges. He was selling out comedy clubs everywhere. Like I was keeping an eye on, because I was like looking around at what clubs were having shows, and I was like, really? And they're booking him. Huh? And the shows are selling out. And so, yeah, like, it's frustrating when you know you're making a good product, and then, like, I wonder if I can draw as many people as celebrity rapist during pandemic.
So this is 2 years ago?
This is before there was a vaccine or
maybe it's because there was stuff. Like not many people touring, and then because he is the only person there.
I'm not saying my thoughts were logical, Ramin. Like, this wasn't, it was just a weird, stupid fucking, like, in me experiencing every emotion possible, from like the heights of like, and then there will be 1,000 people there, and this will happen, and we'll string these there and these things, and like manic stuff to like, and then it could fail, and oh my god, and then and along that way, that was one of the dumb. That was one of the dumb, like, spirals.
And another reason why it doesn't make sense, because you wanted me to list the reasons, was that, I don't know, selling out a show is so different than an event camping thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't know anything about like how many people would be interested in it or what. I'm just in it because I'm in it. But
yeah. Well, I think that I mean, I understand.
Imagine
people,
if every podcast did that. Like, there's a Joe Rogan Campout, there's a Neil deGrasse Tyson Star Talk Campout. What if it was just normal, the same way everyone has a Campout? You can go to the Obama Campout, the Alex Jones Campout. It just happens. Everyone has one. Like, yeah, everyone has a Campout.
Well, that's why I'm so excited about this, is because it's so unique, and we get to world build and stuff. I was already thinking of where all of the art will go, and
what if we did the mind of Mencia? Like, you can step into the mind of Mencia. Like, that could be a little event tent.
He is in our budget.
You just go in a tent and he's just there. He's just like duct taped to a chair. Now that people would come to see. We got to start promising that.
So yeah, I don't know. I think that this is I'm very, very excited. And now it changes, because at first I was like, I think that for now we just announce it to our listeners and that's it. And then if listeners want to bring friends, cool. And now I'm like, tell your friends and tell your friends to tell their friends, because it's going to be fucking awesome. Like, it absolutely is. It's going to be great. And so, like, now I need to figure out, like, with shows, everyone would, like, I wouldn't even start marketing until 3 weeks out, because most people wouldn't buy tickets to, say, a comedy show until like the week of, usually like the day before. And then it just like makes everything a nightmare trying to plan and everything else once you're the one doing all of the marketing and everything. And I don't know what to expect from a Campout crowd. So I'm also hoping to use this to have like more things to talk about, to go on other people's shows and stuff again, because that's where we're hoping to we're hoping to do some more stuff for Mind Under Matter, to get the word out there, because we didn't do the whole first year of the show. All we did was build the show, create the shows, figure out what it was, have a ton of fun, and we did like very little in the way of marketing. Yeah. And now this year we have to do market. We have a thing that I'm super proud of. You know, every artist goes through this, and it's like, how do you get it in front of people? And so now and then hopefully, because now in a world when everyone has a fucking podcast, not everyone has a Campout. That's pretty damn unique. And so yeah, that's everything. That's
everything.
I'm here now, and I'm around for the week trying to like just plan stuff out. I'm getting together with a bunch of professors in the research triangle. So I'm connecting with this person. So like, to give you an idea, I dated my first girlfriend was at MIT. And at MIT, they have like an engineering school. They're used to like having all these pranks and stuff like that, right? And I'm like, well, can we get some engineering school nearby to be like, hey guys, we have a space and an audience for you if you can make some bizarre, weird, like display of something for us, I don't know what that would be, but just any like just bizarre, like science-y display.
So vague.
It is so vague. Like,
hey guys, can you make some bizarre science-y thing?
Well, I'm going to feel it out. But there's a whole, in my mind, I think, okay, go videos. That's what I think. Like a massive domino type thing with this and that. That's the sort of thing that I think about. But and then there's an area set aside that would be good for having like little gatherings, book gatherings and stuff. So so that's where we are with the Campout right now.
Wayne Stock, baby.
Yeah, Wayne Stock. So we're building it. Now we just need people to come, and then we're going to like tour afterwards, and and stuff too. And so, yeah, it's exciting.
That's interesting because everyone on the tour afterwards probably will not have been at the event because they'll just have been at it.
Yeah. Well, so the number one question that we get is
this the fire festival?
We get that. Is this the fire festival?
We never said it wasn't. I was thinking it could be like, you know how Jurassic Park, it opens and then, you know, everything goes wrong. This could be like a reverse Jurassic Park where the big doors open and then just nothing happens. There's just no dinosaurs or anything. I mean, we want to avoid this at all costs. We don't want that to happen, but it would be like reverse Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Like, I wish there was dinosaurs chasing me right now, but instead there was nothing.
No. First of all, if there was, we're definitely going to have like at least a couple hundred people. Like we were always going to have that. There's been enough interest in selling 50 in the first week. The thing's 4 months away. Absolutely. And so everything that we already planned is a go. It's just like, now I'm like, okay, now I want to scale up. And so everything like over 500 is a different thing. Fire festival. So Soup, the guy at Lakeside Retreats, he's a sound engine or a lighting engineer for live events, and he was at an event recently, and he met the guy from the Firefest documentary that sucked dick for water.
What? I didn't see the documentary. What's happening? Someone didn't have water and...
They were like trying to get all of these things to happen, and something wasn't happening. And so the guy was like, hey, will you suck this other guy off to like make this thing happen?
Oh, to make the deal accelerate.
Make the deal
because they ran
accelerate.
out of money, so they're like trading their mouth at this point.
Yeah.
And that's the founder, or the founder told the guy?
The founder told the guy.
Oh, what an
to
honor.
do that.
You got to be asked by the honorable founder.
So Soup met that guy. He was like, I was working with 2 Chainz and all these other artists, and it's like, that's just part of the job. But then I met that guy, and I was like, wow, can I have your audience?
Did he do it, or he offered to?
I think he did it. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's
was
part
he
of the
into
reason
it, or
why
it was like the worst memory of his life?
I don't remember. It's been a while.
I gotta see this documentary now. I'm never going to, but...
Well, it's part of the reason why we're having an episode about conspicuous consumption, because everything that went wrong there was like, it was a thing by, they got a bunch of influencers to make a thing seem like a thing was going to happen. Like, there will be... you'll have your own private island and all of these things that you'll have, and all of the biggest music acts in the world will be there, and then once people started buying tickets, they're like, and do you want like your own treehouse and the thing that for like another 20,000? And it was marketed to rich people. They used influencers to get rich people that wanted to show off their lifestyles on Instagram and stuff. And then like everything fell apart, and they were like, they needed to move to like a different island, and they never, it was all a house of cards from the start. And then they had all of the workers in the island and everything try to set up everything. They didn't have like the tents and stuff like that for people. Yeah. So that was like, you had to fly in, and then they showed up and they didn't have anything for anyone, like including food and water. Like it was a crisis.
Yeah.
This is 20 minutes from downtown Raleigh. There's like a gas station a few minutes away. There's like grocery stores around. There's grills everywhere on the property and stuff. And it's
girls?
grills for grilling stuff. But yeah, there'll be grills as well.
Don't worry, there's grills, there's boys if you like boys. There is property with gas. It's a gas station property for automobile.
So yeah, it's not Firefest. It's a lot cheaper and none of the hoopla of all of the. It's that to me. Some of that was like.
It would be fun to recreate whatever that, like, what did they get? Like a bologna sandwich or just a sandwich with just a cheese slice. It would be fun to greet people as they walk in with just that.
With the Firefest sandwich.
Exactly. The sandwich, the layout and everything, the same.
Yeah. That's funny. So then the number one question we get is there's a lot of people coming solo and they want to know like if it'll be awkward, like we mentioned before. And I think that you have to take a chance and like
think of the other way.
So and like
you're solo right now.
If you don't have friends that want to like come with you, then that's even more important for you to come and meet other like-minded people.
Yeah, you can try on a new accent, like come as someone else, and then by the end be like, I don't actually talk like that.
So just steal the sandwich making thing, like bring some more things or whatever, and go make some s'mores for people or whatever as a icebreaker. I found it to be incredibly easy to meet people, and I'm like I wouldn't say I'm not that I'm all that socially awkward anymore, but I certainly used to be out of my comfort zone in situations like that, and this was too easy.
Hell yeah, it'll be no worries.
Yeah, it'll be no worries. So
yeah,
there'll
if you
be
come
a lot
by
of
yourself,
updates.
I'll personally see it too that you talk to at least one person, and that person is going to be Shane, not me.
So like one of the things that I want to do is have a friend that is like good at teaching improv and stuff to like do for people that
the tickets just went down to 30.
Yeah. That for people that want to be like to learn like a little bit of improv in an area. That was a thing that got suggested during the focus group. I know we shit on improv a lot, but there could
I think
be
just a
some
couple of
fun.
times, but no more than we do on anything else.
We shit on everything.
But yeah, that's very good to clarify that everything is volunteer. If you're like, if you don't want to be a part of a big like circle where you have to stand up and say your name and what your favorite animal is and stuff.
Exactly.
But if you want to do that, then you're allowed to do that all day. You can stand up in a circle all day and shout your favorite animal name.
That's why the more people there is, the easier it will be to have float around events. Because I can't like book a whole bunch of things to have like, you know, I don't want to get a bunch of scientists to come to give talks about their books and then there not be enough people in attendance where like no one wants to hear about their book.
That would be funny for us, but it's not nice for them.
Yeah. So there's like things like that. It's not that I can't make everything happen. It's that I need to have an understanding of, you know, like I was thinking of planning, you know, when people plan weddings, the same thing. They need to know, like, for catering and everything else, how many people to.
Yeah, that's why there's the RSVP.
You have the RSVP. So even RSVP, even if you can't afford the ticket right now, send us
a good option.
Send us an email.
We should have that as a thing. Like, I don't have the money, but if I did, I'd be there. And then we have like that pool of, I don't know if the shenanigans pool counts for that. I thought the shenanigans pool counts for everything, like supporting an artist's trip there or an accountant there.
Yeah.
Not that accounting isn't art, but you know.
Yeah, so the shenanigans fund goes to letting giving the artists whatever the artists decide, creating some sort of ridiculous structure or something like that, or just using it to like dress up the place better or create like better like booth areas and stuff to show off their stuff. But fuck, there was a thing that I was going to
RSVP?
Say which was, the RSVP thing.
If you can't afford to come, if you're...
Yeah. That's everything. I had a story I was going to say about something, but now I can't remember what
One
it is.
time you went to a thing alone and you were afraid it'd be awkward, and then you met your best friend in the whole world, Rick, and then he died, and then we became friends.
That's actually... Like, I don't know. There's a lot of people that have never been to an event like this before, which, first of all, this is going to be like a little more unique, but there's a lot of people that have never been to a festival or anything like that before.
I've never been to this or something like this.
You've never been to something like this?
I mean, I've been to, Fun Fest or Lollapalooza, but I've never gone and camped out in a large group of people where there's a festival celebration thing. But I'm friends with people that, I mean, you're all about it. Drennan's all about it. He's at a festival like every other day, even if there's not one. He just somehow is at one, and you see a video of him at the festival.
I'm excited for you.
And my bar is so low because I've never seen any of them. So I'll be like, this is amazing. There's marshmallows.
It's the best. Yeah, we're going to have a blast no matter what. We'll just have more of a blast if people buy soon and ahead of time so we can plan things. Oh, weddings. This is what I was going to... I was thinking about... Because I was just thinking of all of the planning. When someone gets married, they're like, oh, I spent 2 years on this. And then they like hired an event planner as well. And it was like, oh, this whole stressful thing. And then they have the exact same wedding everyone on the planet has had. And then everyone's just like in a room and there's a DJ and the food comes out and everyone gives a speech. And it's like, and you spent all this time doing what? Picking the meals? That no one cared about? Like, what the fuck? And the amount of, like, I know friends that have told me what they've spent on weddings. I'm like, oh, I can make you a festival for that. Like, that's crazy. People go to weddings? You could just make your own festival. I had that thought. I'm like, that's so crazy. They're so boring. And actually, the best wedding I've ever been to was my friend Aaron. It's where I met Kate.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, my last girlfriend. We had a little wedding hookup, and then it turned into an actual relationship. And it was like 2 hours east of Portland, in Oregon, up in these mountains with a bunch of some hippie friends that love hiking and stuff like that. So they just got this really amazing Airbnb that had all this property for like having fires and camping. And it was all outside. And so people got like Airbnbs nearby. Some people camped and everything else. And it was a whole like weekend long camp out. And it was the best wedding I've ever been to.
Cool.
By a long shot.
I actually did go to a wedding where there was people camping out on the beach, but I was not one of those people. I drove back because I had to go to, I don't know, Vaughn's or something.
Yeah. And I know people are excited because there's already people on Discord talking about getting mom tattoos.
That's nuts.
At the event. And so like, I don't mean to be like, I feel like I'm pessimistic about these things. And that's because I'm putting myself out there with all of this, like this is bigger than just like doing a podcast and not getting the numbers that you want. There's money involved and everything else.
And it's a physical thing.
And it's a physical thing, but I know it's going to be amazing. And so, yeah. Oh shit. What was I saying again before
wedding,
that?
Plan festival.
Yeah. Anyway, it'll be better than a wedding.
Here's because every stand-up bit there is like the straw man thing of it. So in my head, I'm trying to calculate like where does that money all go? For one, it
Sure.
is everything is upcharged, and then even though to us, it just looks like a wedding cake. It is a very it's a very difficult thing to put together. So that's like $10,000 or whatever. But maybe most of the time is spent like looking at the tables and like, well, the Hendersons can't sit next to the Lewises because they're going to be mad that they were seen as less important, even though they are less important. But we'll move the Hendersons. What if we made them both at table C? And then so it's probably like just so much politics.
It's probably that. I don't know what it is. I'm like, oh, that was my thought of like, that was my thought. Is like, what if people want to get married at the Mind Under Matter?
That'd be dope.
Because we would dress up in our.
I'd be a ring. I would like loop my body into a thing, and I'll go over anybody's finger. And you can be the ring bear and dress up like a bear, and then carry me to like be put over someone's finger. But the tattoos are dope, and I don't know why it's like. As you said that, I'm like, wait a minute, people have already gotten tattoos of my drawings before, but for some reason, since it's a mum tattoo, it's even more. They got a mum tattoo, that's even more hardcore.
And I don't encourage tattoos from anybody.
Get on your face. Go become Tekashi 669.
Someone on Discord was like, hey, I already have a ton of tattoos. I got a bunch and like a lot of them are crappy and I want to put some nice ones on.
Yeah.
Because they're older now. So yeah, I think that would be amazing. But yeah, hey, it'll be that was a thought while I was driving too, was I spent a lot of time like, what in the world goes into a wedding? Because then I had the thought, because we're like spending a bunch of money on like a medical staff and security and things like that too. And I'm like, a 200-person wedding doesn't have like security and like a medical and all these other
there's not one
things.
Security person.
It's like, what are they spending that fucking money on? Because people are spending like 40 grand on weddings for things. It's what? Your DJ, like a live
I think it
band?
adds up. Like
I guess.
Let's say there's 200 tables, the flower arrangement for each one is probably like, 1,000. I have no idea. These numbers are so far up my ass, they're like just in my mouth. And then I heard that when you get a wedding cake,
flowers on the table. So that's
if they
what
cut
you're
the
paying
cake,
for.
I heard that if you get a wedding cake, if you have them cut it, each slice they cut is like $5 to $10 per cut. And so I've had friends be like, no, we'll just have someone in the family cut it, or people can cut their own slice. But little stuff like that probably adds up before you know it. Like when you're traveling, you're like, I bought this at Hudson News. I had lunch at this place, rented a car, and then the next day you're like, oh, that was $1,500.
But do you think it's one of those things where, so you're a cake maker and you make cakes for all sorts of things. Mm-hmm. Like Cake Boss, they make the most incredible. They can make a cake shaped like a dragon that actually breathes fire and stuff like that. And they do it in like 3 hours. And like every wedding cake is sort of the same. Like there's a cliche wedding cake that's just like cylinders on top of larger cylinders. And do you think that if you're a cake maker, you go, ooh, for a wedding, huh? And then you just fleece people? I think it's kind of like the end of life stuff too, like funeral stuff and whatnot. I've talked with some people that have like had to go through funeral stuff recently.
Oh yeah.
Oh, people get fucking ripped off because you didn't plan it out. A lot of people don't like plan it out thoroughly ahead of time.
And it's disrespectful. Like you don't want to get the gold top casket. You're like, even if they're not pressuring you in your head, you're like, oh, I don't want to, like, this is the last money I spend on this person that's no longer even here. Like this is, you're probably so susceptible. And like, oh, we're all temporary. What is this? It's just a number anyway. Who cares if I'm at 0? At least I'm still alive.
You have like 3 days to get all of this shit together, and like for people to fly in and like get everything arranged. Holy smokes. You must get charged. So
I haven't
much.
watched it, but there's that show 6 Feet Under. I don't know if you saw it.
It's supposed to be like one of the better shows ever made. I've had people recommend it over and over again to me.
And then Jamie Lee has that book Wediculous, which is I think about the all the ways in which weddings don't make sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, all of the weird gatherings that people try to do, I don't know. I've just been to enough of these things, and it's like fun to, like, I went to the One Wheel Fest. I'm like, this is all cool. All this is working well. And then I know exactly what I'd change. That coffee truck with that generator's loud. It's too loud to be that close to the stage. No one seems to notice, but I notice because I have an ear for these fucking things. And so I'm putting them somewhere else. So I'm like, okay, now, and then I was talking with the vendors, like, what's your generator system? How much power would you need to not have the generator? Like, things like that. I'm like going through every detail, and yeah, I know I can make it.
Have we talked about Todd Glass before and how he's like hyper vigilant for show setup, like the light should be dim.
For this.
Yeah. So you're like Festival Todd Glass.
I'm Festival
You've
Todd
been
Glass.
to lots of them. You know what it should be like. You can sense when something's off.
Yeah. And I like I'm already talking with a guy that runs a lot of like big art spaces at festivals that I've worked with in the past for other things, because they're artists. And I've talked with a bunch of people like this, but if we have enough people, I just want to put one person in charge of that just does that stuff for a living, who I can get, who's just a big fan of the show. We'll talk about them soon, but anyway, so there's just a whole bunch of stuff like that. Todd Glass, everything he says about that stuff is right, though. Like, There's so many comedy clubs that I go in, and then I'd go back. I've toured comedy clubs for 14 years. I would go back and be like, oh, they finally fixed that thing? What happened? They're like, Todd Glass snapped and like made him fix that thing. Like,
oh yeah.
Well, they should have fixed that thing. That's exactly what needed to be fixed. Why were you mixing fucking blender slushy drinks
in the showroom, probably
right next to the fucking stage? That's lunacy.
Yeah, and the door to the bathroom is like they have to walk by the comedian, and the lights are bright, and it's just and the old Cap City. I always hated this about it. How, remember that the chairs were facing like perpendicular to the stage, so that everyone had to turn their seat to face the stage. They weren't default facing the stage. I couldn't understand why they never changed that.
Yeah.
And now it's moot point because it's a different building now. But
right. Yeah. There's all sorts of stuff like that, and I have an eye for it. And yeah. And you know, I've been finicky with the podcast too, of like, no, let's just tweak it.
Oh, it's hilarious. We gotta tape that sometime. My favorite memory of this, and because Shane here is so scientific, one time my audio wasn't right, and then he was like, you sound different. I'm like, really? And then after saying that a couple of times, you're like, but also your voice does change every day. They've found that you're like, no one's voice is the same every day. So you're like applying. It's like, oh, maybe it's just part of the voice changing. But it turns out that my mixer was set weird. But even then you're like, no, maybe it's because everyone's voice changes just a little bit every day.
If you record, like when I had to record stuff for the documentary, we had to do it all in one shot, because if you got to go back to put things in, your voice can change a little bit. So all the voiceover, all in one shot. I've done audiobook stuff. You want to do that all in one shot if you can. But as much as possible, or like chapter breaks or whatever else. So yeah, I and by the way, I'm not trying to like guilt mummies that like would need to fly in from somewhere, so it's like super expensive. But because they have to fly and like figure out camping and everything else, which we can help sort out for people. All of that stuff is pretty easy. A lot of people camped in their cars. I was surprised that
like literally just in a Corolla.
The number of people that just opted to camp in their cars, I was kind of surprised. I was like,
how big of their cars?
Yeah, like, some people had
sedan?
vans and stuff like that. Well, a lot of people have like vans, and because it's like kind of a skater community, so they had stuff kind of for that already. Is
anybody just on the ground like looking up at the stars? Or it's not good to be out in the open?
There was hammocks, yeah. Some
people just hanging out on a hammock outside.
Oh yeah,
that's
which is
cool.
Like kind of the way to go if it doesn't rain. No, yeah, got worried.
I'd love to be woken up by the rain. That'd be fun.
Yeah. And yeah, so I mean, I was just surprised that they weren't taking more advantage of like, everyone could camp out and have a fire and have a tent. How cool. Like, I love camping myself, but a lot of people opted to do, and I understand. But yeah, so I don't expect people to fly in, but I know that we have 1,000 listeners easily within like a 4 or 5 hour radius of Raleigh.
Oh, and that's cool.
So those people should absolutely come. Like, what are you doing? The ticket price is amazing for what
if they have year-long diarrhea?
If they have year-long diarrhea, that's all the more reason to come to the We'll Fix You. No. We just remember
we have the cure and we're withholding it.
Yeah. Or we turn people away at the door. I'm sorry, you have a year long. So that's the other thing that like I'm going to do things that no one will ever thank me for, like getting porta potties pumped twice a day rather than once a day. Like the one wheel. So the one wheel kids, they got the property like and then did everything. Like, so they didn't work with like soup and everything to put it together. And so they weren't like, they could have been more organized. They're a bunch of skater kids. And so it was the best place to be like, what's the worst that could happen? Like if everything's chaotic and out of order and not well organized, what's the worst that could happen? And so I saw the worst of it and it was fucking awesome. It was just absolutely awesome.
Nice.
I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. So we don't want to make the whole podcast about plugging the damn festival all of the time. Sorry to even make a whole other episode about that.
How do we brand this one? I was thinking of that in the back of my head. It's like, how do we package this in a way that does not sound like Campout episode part 2?
Well, the reason why this one was important is because I saw the place.
That's true.
So I know that it's real.
And you're in
because
it.
I wouldn't blame people for being like, but does Shane really know is this really going to be a thing? Everyone was asking, is this going to be a fire fest? Like, I told
how many people ask that?
Like
3?
My sister
30?
and brother-in-law.
They don't count.
But like asked that. Basically, people that don't go out and do things and have adventures and only see the outside world through TV and documentaries have deep concerns about adventures.
Sick and real burn. Everyone's got to feel that.
That's what adventures look like on TV.
It's
like
true.
Horrifying fucking things. Go out and take a chance. Go and do some other fucking camp out things, if not ours. Like this is like the idea that people will pack indoors during COVID where a vaccine isn't working very well against new variants to see like shit music, and they have concerns about going to an outdoor camp out. Like that's going to be awesome.
Wait, crazy. Who's that?
No, nobody. I hope, but like the idea that someone would is kind of like crazy to me.
Oh, yeah.
Of the idea that people, it's it's funny to me, the psychology of the things that people worry about, because it's always like the shark attacks of the world. It's always like the big dramatic availability heuristic. What if everything starts on fire? And no one thinks about, what if I forget my phone charger? That'll sort of suck. That's the stuff that actually goes wrong. And you overlooked bringing your phone charger because you were building fires and like panicking in your mind of all of these like insane things that were never going to be the case. So yeah, take a chance.
Yeah, I think we've discussed this somewhere, but the most likely thing that'll happen is probably just one person twist their ankle while walking on a hiking trail,
uneven ground. And I actually went, even that, Soup went through and cleared off potholes and stuff. People were going through on one-wheelers. So even that, I don't even think it's that big of a concern. But there's trails all over the place. It's so awesome. It's so awesome because you can have an intimate thing, you can have a big show thing, you can have every kind of experience all in one place. There's people out on the lake paddleboarding and stuff and drinking all that
one big herpes commercial
water.
without the herpes.
It's one big herpes commercial. Yes, exactly. So yeah, I'm very, very excited, and I just hope others are as excited as I am. So,
oh yeah.
So yeah, that's it. That's the update. That's everything.
Cool. This is the episode?
That's the episode.
What should we call it? Like something about size queens. How to scale up without breaking bank. Take a chance. We were going to do it about solo adventures before we started recording. We'll just talk about our solo adventure stories, but then we never got to it. That'll be a different episode.
I'm a little scatterbrained, and I haven't been on the road for a while, and
what if we called it "Want a Sandwich"?
All of this up, and
it's just got a guy by a campfire, and he's like, "Who wants sandwiches?" And that's the a talking marshmallow that's like,
what about
can't wait to see ya.
What about Campfire Fest? That's kind of fun.
It's fun, but it might have the opposite of the desired effect.
It might have the opposite. Yeah,
it's sticky in the way that you don't want it to be sticky.
Yeah, and I've been hypersensitive.
But it's also hiding in plain
episodes
sight.
That it's like, yeah, it's hiding in plain sight. Obviously, when there's like more information and pitchy stuff, it's like it makes it we get in our head because it's like, oh, we aren't talking about big concepts with all of the things and winding around and impressions and all of those things, but we just want to get all the information out there about the awesome physical mum world that we're building, where we already have. I'm really excited because a lot of people are already planning on bringing morph suits to wear.
Hell yeah.
And I think there's going to be a lot of cool stuff like that. People were like, well, you need to have the TVs. We need to have TVs that people can be in to get their pictures in front of the actual TVs.
Correctamundo.
I have, no matter, even if only 50 people, even if not a single other ticket came out, I have the most incredible opening, ridiculous grand opening for this thing, and so many things already that are like easy to do, but are just silly and amazing and are going to be epic, that no matter what, it's going to be great. So I can't wait. Mostly, I want it to be successful, and I want to do these in more regions in the future.
The new Starbucks coming to every city.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's the episode. And please, you can check out the YouTube channel. We have a 10-minute version of here's everything you need to know in 10 minutes. And go to Mind Under Pod to get tickets. We'll be updating the site with info soon. And until next time,
keep on salivating, honeys. Ding.